Hello students, this is Professor McDermott. Well, I know you've all had English Comp and you've had some training in how to write essays, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of a refresher course, talking especially about how to write a good essay on an exam, although this could be very applicable to any other type of written assignment. And first and foremost, the one thing I want you to take away from this lecture, if you take away nothing else, is that the key to writing a good essay of any sort is to have a thesis statement. What is a thesis statement? Well, basically your thesis is the answer that you're giving to whatever question is being asked in the essay. In other words, it's simply the point that you are trying to make. And so it's very important in that it gives your essay a purpose. And it makes it more worthwhile for the reader and also more interesting for you to write if you have a point that you're trying to prove. One way we sometimes express this is that it makes your essay an argumentative essay rather than a merely descriptive essay. A descriptive essay would just be a list of random facts that may or may not be connected one after the other. That's probably not going to be very interesting, and it almost definitely isn't going to answer the question. Whereas an argumentative essay takes the question, answers it directly and very specifically. But in a way, the best part about your thesis statement is that it can help you write the essay. It can, if you make your thesis statement strong enough and complex enough, it will almost be like a blueprint that will show you how to move through the essay. And it will suggest what your paragraph structure for the essay should be. All right, are we ready to try it? So let's say I asked you on an exam this question, which I will not ask on any exam. Why did so many American progressives support the Jim Crow laws that took the vote away from African Americans and created segregation in the South? And what makes that question interesting is that, of course, normally progressives seem to be in favor of downtrodden people, but in this case, many progressives actually supported the Jim Crow laws that oppressed blacks in the South. So why would they do that? Well, I want to suggest a method for writing an exam essay that's called the 5-paragraph method. You're not required to use this method on my exams, but I'm just offering it to you as a suggestion that I think you may find very useful, not only for this course, but for any course that you may take, especially in the humanities. So what is the 5-paragraph method? Well, first of all, let's talk about your thesis, because once again, that's the key to everything. You want to have a strong thesis. First, let me give you a couple examples of bad thesis statements. The progressive movement was very important in American history. What's wrong with that? Well, it's a vague general statement that really doesn't say very much, and we always want to avoid vague general statements in our writing. We want to focus on specific facts. We want to give a lot of details that show that we really know the material, and when we make a vague statement like this, it suggests that maybe we don't really know the material and we're just covering up for that. Another bad thesis statement. Progressives were sort of good and sort of bad. Well, in a way that's true, but it's also, again, very vague. It's very vague, and it's not really going to help you as you structure your essay. We want something that's very specific, very concrete, and detailed enough that it'll give us a guide that will help us get through the essay. So let's say that you sat there for a few minutes, you thought it over, you made notes on whatever you're using for scratch paper, and this is what you come up with for your thesis statement. Progressives supported Jim Crow laws because they were against corruption in elections, thought segregation would help prevent lynching, and because they looked down on people who didn't share their white upper class values. All right, so what's good about this thesis? Well, it's very detailed. It shows that you know the material, but it gives you, especially, it gives you 3 points to focus on in your essay. And those 3 points are going to be your 3 body paragraphs in the essay. So now, with this one sentence thesis statement, you already know where to go. You know where you are in your argument. You know what you're going to say. And you'd be surprised almost how effortlessly you can glide through an essay once you've constructed a thesis statement like this. So, your 5 paragraphs. Okay, first paragraph is going to be always your introductory paragraph, where you set out the problem. Your first paragraph should always include your thesis statement so that the reader knows where you're going and what to expect. But now you can move into the body of your essay, and of course now your second paragraph is going to be about the first point you made in your thesis statement. Progressives were afraid that poor people could easily be bribed and corrupted in the electoral process. And so you might mention here, for example, that the Democratic Party in the South did bribe and corrupt black voters in the late 19th century. So that was the sort of thing the progressives were concerned about. You could also mention that the progressive reformers have been fighting a battle for a long time against groups like Tammany Hall to try to get poor immigrants off the voting rolls, because once again they saw them as being easily influenced by wealthy people who could bribe them. All right, so that's your second paragraph. Bring in as many details as you can that you remember from the lectures, from the discussions, from the documents. And once you've covered that issue, move on to your third paragraph, which is going to be the second point you brought up in your thesis statement. That progressives were in favor of segregation by race because they thought it would prevent lynching. And here you could go in a little bit into what lynching was and how destructive it was to African Americans. And then just talk about the fact that the progressives thought that if you segregated white people from black people, they'd have less contact, and therefore there'd be less fighting and less violence. Your fourth paragraph is going to be your third point from the thesis statement. That progressives, even while they were trying to help people of other cultures, even sometimes other races, religions, or what have you, were coming at it from their own exclusive perspective, which was pretty much white upper class Protestant. And a lot of times they shared the beliefs that the white race was the superior race. And sometimes, for instance, as we saw even with Jane Addams at Hull House, the way that she tried to change the diet of the immigrants there, tried to change their culture by not serving alcohol and so forth, suggests, that these upper class progressive reformers, while they wanted to help, at the same time looked down on people that didn't share their values. So you can just, you can explore that. Now you're almost done. Your thesis has helped you move through this essay very rapidly, and all you have left to do is write your concluding paragraph. And in a conclusion, you should do more than just restate your arguments. This is the place to go a little bit deeper, maybe draw out the deeper meaning of what you've talked about. This is also a good place to talk about how this might still be relevant in the present day, how different cultures and groups in America continue to misunderstand each other. Or you could also express your own opinion. The conclusion is a good place to do that. You've been using evidence focusing on facts throughout the essay, but now state your own opinion about progressivism, that you really hate the fact that they valued the rights of white Americans more than black Americans. Or you could even say that this shows that progressivism really had a dark side, and maybe it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. There you have it. That is your exam essay. Now, at this point, you may be asking the question, do I really have to write that much? Well, the answer is not necessarily. Again, this was just a suggested method. But even if you don't write according to this 5-paragraph method, you should make sure your essay, first of all, answers the question fully. Okay? That you really address the question, all the issues that it raises. Second, that it has a thesis statement. Third, that it has some kind of paragraph structure. And here I would say that yes, it's possible that you could write a good exam essay in 4 paragraphs or even in 3 paragraphs, maybe. Introduction, body, conclusion. You could do that, certainly. 1 paragraph would really be too short. After all, this is an essay, it's not a short answer question. So, for an essay, I'd say you'd have to have a few paragraphs and some kind of paragraph structure. And finally, your essay, however long it is, should be based on good evidence that you remember from our lectures, also from the documents and from the discussions we had about those documents in our classroom. Well, there you have it. If you have any questions about this process of writing a good exam essay, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to help. And I wish you good luck on your next exam.